have to sit really close to each other, else we're out of frame.
That's why I'm.
If you could just cuddle, that would be ideal. It's like a Christmas card, a weird one, but one nonetheless.
I'm not going to change the expression of my face either.
Welcome to the Hollywood Reporter's closer look at The Shrink Next Door. I am Ashley Bellman, and I am here with the stars of Apple TV Plus' new dark comedy, Will Ferrell and Paul Rudd. Welcome, you two. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us here in the Kit Kat room.
You're welcome.
Kit Kat Corner.
Kit Kat Corner. I'm so excited to be talking about the show. Congratulations. It's so good.
That's very nice.
Thanks.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Yeah, really good to hear.
Now, you two worked together on a movie, a little film, Anchorman, way back in the day, and its sequel.
Right.
So, you know, this is a little bit of a departure from that, but I want to know, what were your first memories working together on that movie and your first impressions of one another?
I think the first real memories from Anchorman was probably those rehearsal times.
Yeah,
right?
we had these 4 or 5 hour rehearsals where we just improvised all day long.
And before we ever shot anything, and I was a fan of Will's before I got to work on that movie. And then I just remember those rehearsal days were so fun because the stuff that it was all just improvising. There were just so many laughs, and that never stopped. I mean, even when we went into shooting the movie,
I just remember
felt that way.
I couldn't stop staring at Paul.
Because he's good looking?
Because he's gorgeous.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then what did you think of his acting?
Well, look, it's all a process.
Yeah.
Thank you for recognizing that. It's true, and it's a lifelong process. I feel like I'm just starting.
Now, compare that and all of that improv to this project where it's much more heavy material. Was there improv on set?
Probably,
Yeah.
a little bit here and there.
It was interesting.
But we had a lot to do every day.
It was all, it was a dense script, and we certainly adhered to it. But you did say something very interesting that I thought was, there were moments when we would kind of veer off of it a little bit. And you said, isn't it interesting how when you're improvising as one character, like if we were improvising in Anchorman, it felt totally different than improvising in this.
Right.
You do think differently, and your brain works differently if you're thinking from a different tone or a different character.
You say completely different things that you wouldn't even say as yourself when you're improvising in character. So,
or things you wouldn't even think of.
Yeah.
Your brain actually works differently.
You're thinking as that person 24/7.
Yeah.
So Paul, you go from playing opposite Ron Burgundy to playing opposite Marty Markowitz. So compare and contrast, please.
Well, I think it's really a testament to Will as an actor, truly, because I know that I'm biased, but I think Ron Burgundy is one of the greatest comic personas and kind of performances of the last.
Everyone in the room is
Agreed.
shaking.
Half century, right? I mean, easily. There's, maybe even full century.
Right.
Since movies.
Since movies.
Yes. And to be that kind of consistently funny and this fully formed creation, and then to see him in this show, and he's playing somebody who is very real, very un-Ron Burgundy-like, and broken in different kind of ways, but a sympathetic character and a very human character, and complex and nuanced, and Will just it's a home run.
Too many compliments.
I'll take it. You can edit one of them out, right?
Okay.
I'm now
We'll
shutting
just keep
down.
1 or 2.
I'm shutting down.
But they were two completely different, obviously. Different.
It's very nice of you.
Not.
By the way.
Take a bite of
I
the
don't even
Kit
know how to
Kat.
touch people.
Just rub the Kit Kat table.
Yeah, if anything becomes
some
too
of that
much,
energy.
just touch the Kit Kat and we'll all be okay.
Sorry.
So you both are approached with this project. I imagine you dive into the podcast. At what point in listening were you thinking, okay, I have to be on board with this?
I think right away. I mean, it's one of those, you listen to the first episode and then you just binge the rest, and you have to get to the end of the story and see how this resolves itself. And it was just, kind of storytelling at its best, and just, my reaction was like, oh, of course they want to make this into a show.
It was riveting stuff.
Now, they're calling this a dark comedy. The first question people ask me, because I've seen the screeners, is it funny? So let me ask you, is it funny?
I feel like we should ask you. You're the one that just kind of watched it.
I mean, that's why I want to know your opinion on it, because it's not a funny story, but but there are elements of humor. And I mean, I guess that's how you would define dark comedy.
I mean, I think it's a little bit, you're laughing through the tears of what's going on. You feel so bad for Marty at times, and some of the situations are so absurd that you can't help but laugh. At the same time, it's a really, it's a very vulnerable place that this character goes to. And even Ike, who's kind of, quote unquote, the bad guy in it, you see the human side of him as well. So it's,
where it's it really happened.
Yeah.
This is a real story, and so we went into it knowing it's like, okay, this is not Ron Burgundy and Bright. Like this is tonally is a very different thing, and we both innately knew that and wanted to do tell the story in the appropriate way, and while the scenario can get comically absurd, it's the stakes and the people and the drama in it is very real and not funny.
No, but it's very well performed. Now, I read that there was no debate over who would play who. So, Paul, why Ike? Will, why Marty? Did height have anything to do with your decisions?
It's funny. We
never talked about it.
We never talked about it.
We both kind of came around and we'd heard the podcast and we both said, oh, let's do this. And it was never really discussed. I think we just both said, oh yeah, well that would be the part you would play, and I'll play this part. And I was excited because it was obviously a different kind of part that I would normally get to play.
Right.
And I thought it would be a really interesting character to kind of sink my teeth into a little bit. And
I'm just excited that Ryan Gosling fell out.
He would have been.
Yeah.
He would have been.
You were supposed to originally do it with Ryan Gosling.
Oh.
He was going to do it. That's why.
Because I had heard that he was supposed to play. He was going to do it for me.
Yeah.
So what was his
I think
excuse?
he was trying to decide at the last second.
I think actually what happened was that it was originally. You know what? This is where we're getting
I think
confused.
he was going to play both
parts. Ryan Gosling was originally going to do this, but as like a kind of a one-man show. He was playing both parts.
Got it. Yeah. We had a conflict, or we're not sure?
I think that must have been it. I think it was just,
Well, speaking of Ryan Gosling,
COVID messed a lot of things up.
Yeah. We'll get to that. But speaking of Ryan Gosling, you guys had to take a deep dive into the world of cults. That has nothing to do with Ryan Gosling. But tell me.
That's where we disagree, because I am a card-carrying member in the cult of Ryan Gosling.
100%.
No, but I heard that you really got into the HBO series The Vow, and had to look into cults in your research. So what did you learn, and how did you apply that to your characters?
You just kind of learn how tenuous and how fragile we all are, and that, while this story seems, absurd and kind of exceptional, far-fetched, it really isn't. And we're all prone to, having a point in our life where we feel vulnerable for whatever reasons and want to follow someone who's just going to give us advice that in that moment feels like it's going to help us. And so it was interesting to kind of compare the two.
Our brains are pretty fragile, and that's why you could say like, oh, that would never happen to me, but maybe it would. I just think we're all susceptible to anything, and that I was watching that show. It just happened that it was kind of happening at the same time. I had been watching that before this, but I think we did see similarities of, certain kinds of personalities and things.
The power of charisma and the power of
volleyball.
Yeah.
No, it's so interesting because
and volleyball knee pads.
Yeah,
definitely
the knee pads. It's a story that when you hear it, you think that could never happen to me. There's no way. But then you start to watch the show, and it becomes very relatable. So how do you two make those characters so relatable effortlessly on screen?
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
These are real people, and I think that they're people that actually care about each other, and the writing was very strong, and we had such great Georgia Pritchett and the rest of the writing staff. The scripts were really solid, and really great directors with Michael and Jesse. We had the podcast to listen to. We had these great scripts, and and then it gets down to working on the scenes and finding what it is within each character that is human, and what it is that why they need one another in the ways that they need one another, and then you just kind of play the truth in that.
Mm-hmm. And the accents were really, really well done. Did either of you have any trouble really getting those New York accents down? I mean, I know you're both professionals, but
it's a weird thing. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I mean, we both worked with dialect coaches, and it took it really seriously because it can stray into sketch if it's not done in a believable way. So that was a bird. We really took that. And at first, I mean, there was even a debate whether to go there or not. But Michael Showalter was really like, I want you guys to lean into this.
Also, and we're playing real people.
Yeah,
and the real
way
people
they sounded.
to speak like So a weird thing sometimes happens where it feels like, oh my God, I'm just leaning into this way too hard. It sounds ridiculous, but it does to us because we know the way we speak. But it doesn't come off.
Now, speaking of the real people, you actually spent a day in the Hamptons with the real Marty and his sister and the host of the podcast. So what questions did you find yourselves asking them, and what was the most surprising thing that you learned that day?
It was just fascinating to hear firsthand from Joe Nacero, who kind of created the podcast, of just his version of getting a knock on his door, the first month or week that he had moved in to that neighborhood, and there was this guy dressed as a groundskeeper inviting him to Dr. Ike's party, and and realizing later, wait,
I learned about this.
Yeah, and what was it, a year later, or I don't know, 6 months later, when the groundskeeper all of a sudden was now in front of the house, not dressed as a groundskeeper anymore, and revealing that, oh no, this was my house all along. I was just living in the back. And just all these surreal kind of stories coming to life.
Hearing about it after listening to the podcast, and then getting to be in the setting, hearing about the details from them, and then also some extra stuff that we didn't know. I had questions and learned interesting things like therapy sessions were always from behind a desk, which is not normally the way a therapy session is conducted, which never would have occurred to me or either of us. Michael Showalter was with us too. And oh wow, okay, so when they're in therapy, it isn't like a chair and a couch and sitting across from each other like this. It was actually done behind a desk. So a couple of other things that we were able to put into the show, but hearing that kind of stuff was fascinating to us.
Now, do you know, has the real Marty seen the show? And if so, have you talked to him since?
I believe the real Marty is going to be seeing the show. He has not seen it as of yet.
He's not seen it yet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's going to be a premiere.
But he loves it.
Yeah. He loves it.
But
He's
as
a big
far
fan.
as we can tell, he just loves it.
Well, I'm just curious, like, how do you think?
I don't know, it's going to be strange. I've never been in that situation where you're in the room with the person you're portraying.
Right.
Outside of like doing an SNL character and having someone come up to you, the real person that you're playing, and, you know, meeting George Bush while you're playing George Bush. But that's different because it's heightened, it's
supposed to be
funny. Arch.
Yes.
So I hope they're happy. I know I did stress to Marty, like, just so you know, it's kind of, it's a version of you. It's not you exactly. And he was very sweet. He was like, I won't hold you to any of that. I knew that going in. So I think they're gonna enjoy, and I think they're just gonna be surprised to see it all come to life.
And did you speak with any of the previous patients of Dr. Ike, like Gwyneth Paltrow or any of the other celebrities?
Did not.
No?
No, we haven't talked to anyone. I think as far as that was concerned, I think they had, Joe and Marty had takes on that relationship thing. That really wasn't much of a, might have been like 2 sessions or something.
Okay.
Yeah, that might have
like
slightly
a little name
overblown.
drop.
Yeah.
Got it. But how do you think people who were affected by him are going to receive this?
Will be interesting. I have no, I don't know. I would imagine it'll be an interesting and experience for people who, you know, other patients.
Lived it, right. Now, this is already heavy material going in. Then you throw in a global pandemic. So, you know, what were the biggest obstacles while you were shooting this? And were there any moments where either of you were like, what did I get myself into?
Well, it was, because we were kind of in that wave of productions that were just starting to get back on their feet. So it was all, we've been working subsequently on other things, so you're a little more used to the protocols, but this was the first time to, you know, figure out, you know, how does this work? And it's interesting to be the only ones that, you know, take off your mask while you have to do a scene while everyone is still masked up. And
it's a weird sensation when, you know, when you work on something, you know, you really get a sense of a movie or whatever it is really a collective effort, and that's not just actors and the director. It really is a camera department and lighting department and gaffers and crew, and you know, you see these people every day, and it creates a working relationship and a mood. And to work on really dense material for a long period of time with COVID protocols, but then never knowing what any of the crew really looked like, was a really strange sensation.
You realize that so much of that is the connection of the work experience.
And so it was a totally unique kind of feel and hard, like kind of hard to get used to that. And I don't know if we ever really did.
But we talked about the fact that we would never forget this experience between the complexity of the material and this time in history, and we were like, gosh, we're always going to remember working on Shrink.
You know, there's always on productions, there always seems to be like a still photographer, and they'll take pictures of, you know, and in all of the kind of still photography of us hanging out on set, you can see people sitting in their chairs with wearing masks, and you become so used to it. But like, down the road, it's like, you imagine like looking at those pictures going, what was going on
there?
You know?
So aside from that, what was it like on set between cut and action?
I think it was great. I mean, I loved working with him. I love working with everybody in this. And it seemed like it was, you know, it was really, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
You know, everyone likes to kind of make the comment that we've worked so much together. We technically haven't. We only worked in that we've just done the 2 Anchorman movies, and you know, and have known each other for the longest time. So to get to kind of really do these characters that were kind of one-on-one the whole time, was really special, and we just loved the time in between the setups, just to kind of tell old stories or talk about our families, or just kind of shoot the breeze.
One of the
I was about to say shoot the but I'm not going to say it.
Yourself.
Not in the Kit Kat lounge.
Yeah.
One of the many amazing things I think about Will is that Will doesn't. There's no cell phones on set or anything. He doesn't bring it. Neither of us. When the scene's over, we'll go sit and we'll talk.
I love that.
Which seems like it's just.
Hold on.
He's got to go.
He's getting a call.
You got.
I don't even have it on me now.
Just that made the whole thing like, oh my God.
But did you feel like, though, there were probably times when you wanted to check your phone, you were like, oh.
Oh God, Will's sitting there, he doesn't have his phone.
So is that
I'm
a
so
rule?
desperate to return these emails, but no, it's not a rule.
It was equivalent to shooting with an Amish person.
Okay.
Yeah.
You laugh, but instead of checking his phone, a lot of times he's churning butter in between setups.
Making my own clothes.
Raising a barn.
Repairing a carriage wheel.
Got it.
Yep.
Yeah. That's nice for you. It's like 2 different sets.
Which are skills everyone should learn.
He still makes the best pretzels.
But that is so nice to be present like that, and I don't know if for you, were you inclined then to grab the phone and then just?
No, I didn't bring my phone either.
You didn't have it? Okay.
No, not at all. It's just we're so connected to these damn things, and it was great because I've loved every time we've worked together and hung out, and not just working on the Anchorman movies, but we got to travel the world promoting them, and so we've had a lot of fun times, and also with Catherine as well, and Casey, and so it was really just a blast hanging out with everybody.
And is everyone just so funny, like in real life, behind the scenes too?
Pretty much.
They certainly are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you are.
We had too much to memorize, but they
were like nonstop joke machine.
Are they really?
Yeah. They're amazing. Yeah,
they're hysterical.
Yeah.
So, being on the other side of the project, do you feel differently towards the characters than you did when you started? Do you feel defensive or protective over them more so now?
I won't speak for you, but I think you're on the same page. That I think the metamorphosis that happened in terms of our kind of feeling about the characters, I found myself in a strange way feeling much sorrier for Ike than I thought I would in the end. I not defending his actions or anything like that, but this is very gray at times, it's not necessarily someone's right and someone's wrong all the time, but and so that was an interesting kind of place to land.
Yeah. I mean, we're playing real people, and we're playing, and so I don't judge any of the characters that I'm playing. I feel very human, and so I felt that too. I mean, a bit of a protective, a little bit here, because I thought, oh, people are going to, really judge this person, but I'm not going to judge him.
And then when you are finished a project, any project, how do you decompress? How do you let the characters go? Or is there part of them that's kind of always with you?
What is done is done.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Well, it is for me.
I'm a big hot air balloon enthusiast, and I usually have to take a couple trips up in my hot air balloon before I can really let them go.
Let them go.
And I literally let them go.
You have like a ceremony.
I have a ceremony.
Okay, like spreading the metaphorical ashes.
Right, which were my beard trimmings.
The beard, oh, got it.
Yes.
So you got rid of the trimmings when you were up in the balloon.
Sprinkled them.
That's nice. That's a really good idea.
All over Van Nuys.
I love it.
Makes sense.
Okay, so what can audiences expect when they are tuning into this show?
I just think it's a really original piece, and for Paul and I, it's just kind of a brand new thing, something you're just not going to expect seeing us kind of in, you know, for all the right reasons, and yeah, and just a compelling story.
Yeah, hopefully a story that people will connect to in one way or another, or characters that, you know, they'll connect to or connect with, and like it enough that they'll want to keep watching it.
And for both of you, do you prefer this type of subject matter, having done it, or more full comedy?
Oh, I mean, I think it's always just like case by case.
Yeah.
But this was, as challenging as it was really fun to do something so different.
Well, I'm so excited for everyone to see it. You guys are both fabulous. Thank you both so much for being here, and thank you all for joining us for the Hollywood Reporter's Closer Look at the Shrink Next Door.